lost something like 7 pounds overnight because of the release of the water retention.
Welcome everybody to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we meet people who have had a spiritual awakening, found their truth, and are now living their truth. And it's my pleasure to welcome Sara Jane, who developed something called Vocal Reiki, and I'm looking forward to finding more about it. So welcome, Sara Jane.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Dennis. It's a real pleasure to share the space with you all.
That's great. So, Sara, you haven't always been a healer, and I know you've had a previous life, like most of us. So, why don't you tell us something about your background?
Okay. I can start with paper rounds. When I was 12, I can sort of go to working in sort of my parents' hotel, sort of waiting tables and cleaning sort of bedrooms, and sort of working in retail for WH Smith's in England. Sort of when I first left school. In fact, I had to have a day off work to have my last day at school. Sort of from retail, I sort of went into working for a greeting card company, sort of doing their stock control systems. Then I got married and started working in public houses. And then I sort of went from there, what toy companies, sort of in their customer services, consumer services, because the manufacturer is obviously their customer is the retailer, and sort of went back into retail for a lighting company where I became an area manager. Then ended up in insurance, and seriously, I have been all over the place with the jobs that I have done. But yes, and then eventually I hated insurance, and it was just like I'd learned Reiki, and it was just like, well, what would I really like to do? And it was just like, share these gifts. I'd learned Indian head massage, Thai foot massage, ear candling. I was just like, do you know what? I wish to share the energies. It really spoke to me, and I've been doing that. Actually, it's 20 years this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, I know at one point you had a broken jaw, and that was part of your healing journey. Would you like to tell us something about that?
Okay, I'll go into the broken jaw, but maybe where my journey really started. And
yeah, please do. Yeah.
We have that, we have something that happens in our lives. And what initially happened was a gift, except for I didn't feel like it. Just before my first birthday, I got scolded by a boiling milk coffee that went all over my face, down my neck, and the jumper I was wearing stuck to my skin.
Wow.
I was hospitalized for 3 months. Okay, spending my first birthday in hospital because I wouldn't leave the wounds alone. This was at a time 66 years ago that parents weren't allowed to stay with their children. The rules of the hospital were every other day for an hour. The reality for me was I saw my parents once a week for an hour. Now, obviously, they have discovered the mental and emotional trauma that causes to children, especially over such an extended period. And yes, there's no two ways about the fact that it left me feeling abandoned, deserted, unwanted, unloved, not good enough, sort of unworthy. Every word you can think of, it left me feeling. I certainly didn't feel listened to or heard. And it left me a people pleaser. I didn't go into the angry mode. I went into people pleaser mode. And I spent the better part of 40 years being a people pleaser.
I suppose in customer service, that's a kind of job where being a people pleaser is useful and keeps your customers happy.
Well, yeah, the waitressing, sort of
Yeah.
the working in a shop, all of those type of things.
Mm.
Just keeping people happy. Um, but I had no idea who I was when I heard people say, "Oh, I know who I am and I like who I am." And I'm thinking, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about,
Mm.
because nothing was ever about me. It was always about other people. And then towards the end of the 1990s, I think it was 1996, my jaw got broken by a dentist extracting a wisdom tooth.
Mm.
I didn't know it was broken for a week. But eventually, I was lying in bed one morning and it felt like my jaw moved in a way it shouldn't.
Yes.
And so ended up by going to the hospital. Long and the short of it was, yes, it was broken. Yes, it required a 2-hour operation to try and put it back into place and
Mm.
pin it there.
Mm.
That resulted in 6 months of pain and sleepless nights. And when you are that exhausted, things have to give. And the people pleasing was one of them.
Mm.
And the marriage at the time was one of the other things.
All right.
It was just as it was. I am now a believer that the scolding was a gift I gave myself, because if I hadn't gone through what I'd gone through, I wouldn't be able to do what I do today.
Mm.
The broken jaw was another gift, because it helped me to start saying no to people rather than constant yes to everybody else and no to me. And so it's very difficult sometimes to think about something that's happened to you and to be able to see it as a gift.
Yeah.
But somehow, before I even started this path, I did. Yes, as I said, it resulted. I was studying an accounting exam at the time, which was taking up a lot of my energy, working full time. Gratefully, I never had children. But I was in a marriage where I was expected to do practically everything. So he
Mm.
was working full time, I was working full time, but I was also trying to run the house. I was exhausted, and
Yeah.
you can't do all of that without sleep. You just can't. So masses gave. It had to, for me to take back my life, to start finding out who I was. And one of the things I asked, the sleeping tablets and something else, the painkillers, nothing was working. That's why it was 6 months of pain and sleepless nights,
Yeah.
and necessary for the outcome.
Mm.
And towards the end of that, I asked to go, and I broke my marriage up, and I asked to go and see a psychotherapist so that I could understand why my life had been the way it had been. That was the real start of the healing journey. It helped me to get an element of understanding. I'd always known my story. I'd always known it. And as I said, the marriage broke up. But at the same time as that happening, the company I was working for got taken over.
Mm.
And so that was going to be the end of that job, unless I wished to move from Northampton, where I was, to Bournemouth, where
Yeah.
I now am.
Mm.
I didn't actually take the job, but I did take a secondment that brought me down here for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a sister who lives in Bournemouth. So
Mm.
I was actually starting to get closer to my own family. And the secondment, as I said, I didn't take a job with them, but it had meant I could be here. I found myself another job very quickly once the secondment was over. Within 6 days over the Easter period. Yeah, go fathom that one. The universe, I get it now. The universe was in control. Finding a house down here and buying it. Seriously, how things fell into place because I had taken that step to move into my life. rather than the people pleaser non-existence that I really had. And having gone into that new job, slowly but surely, oh, what can I do to give back? And I thought about fostering, but that really wasn't going to work with a full-time job. And then I remember sitting on the stairs at home in my little house and thinking, what can I learn for me? I thought, well, massage doesn't work. And I hadn't realized what I was doing, but I was putting it out to the universe saying, what can I do for me? And I can't remember the period of time, but it was a very short period of time. I was looking through a local free paper, and it was a holistic fair and a psychic fair. And I said to my younger sister, which should I go to? She said, I know you, Sarah, go to the holistic fair. Thank you. I went to that holistic fair. Literally the very first person as I walked through that door, a lady called Angie, and she was sharing about an angel day, a technique called metamorphic technique. And we also got talking. And she said, oh, then my Reiki master's running the angel day. She taught me metamorphic technique. The very first person you treat when you learn Reiki is yourself. What had I said without realizing it? I went to the angel day. I met Elaine. She became my Reiki master. And really, I suppose my journey had started before then. I just hadn't realized that it had.
And the broken jaw, did it heal itself?
The broken jaw it certainly healed. The wires are still in there. All the pins are actually in the jaw still.
Yeah.
And yes, I use sound now, for crying out loud. Yes, I've got a fairly good use of my jaw. Very capable of talking. So do shut me up if needed. And so that was the beginning of my healing journey, the Reiki. And I'm going to let you ask a question now. I can go on for ages, but this is a conversation.
Yes. So Reiki was the beginning, and did you train to master's level? Or...
Okay, Reiki was the beginning, and I literally did level 1 with no intention of going any further. My Reiki master was very strict. Minimum 6 months between 1 and 2. And then a minimum a year between 2 and masters, and then going on beyond that to teaching. And at 9 months, I said, actually, do you know what? I'd like to do my level 2. And she said, yeah, fine. We booked it. And then as I was doing my level 2, I knew I would go on to do masters. I think that was in the May. In the October, oh, no, it can't have been. That must have been the February. That was in the February. In the October, I said to her, I'd like to do my master's. I appreciate it's a year. She said, we can book it now for February. And it was just like, will I be ready? Oh, yes, she goes. And it was exactly the same dates, the 8th and 9th of February, both years. And it was just like, okay, so I went on and did my master's, and I've gone on to do the teaching as well. So yes, but it was also Elaine that introduced me to toning, so to the sound that I use. And I love Reiki, but oh boy, did I fall in love with toning. So sort of, but I've answered your question about the Reiki. What would you like to know?
Well, perhaps some of the listeners might like to know a bit more about Reiki. We've all heard of Reiki, and there are so many practitioners out there, but how many of us actually know how it works, what's involved? Perhaps you could explain what Reiki is for people who might not know.
Okay, I'm actually one of these people who doesn't feel anything, see anything, hear anything. So I have always completely worked on trust with this energy. The way I was taught it by Elaine was that we are a channel for that energy. And not only are we a channel, we offer the energy. It is not something that is given. It is not something that we direct. And Reiki, universal healing energy. What is the universal healing energy? It's love. All we are doing is offering love, and love is the greatest healer. And that is exactly what I do. I offer the love. At the lower levels, you work down the chakras of the body, the 7 main energy centers of our being. When I did my level 1, they started talking about chakras, and I hadn't got a clue what they were talking about. And I still hasn't quite in the courage of saying, what are they? So I sort of slowly got to understand it. It's having that courage to ask if you don't know or don't understand. And I definitely feel I act as a channel for that energy. I have had situations where I remember one occasion where I started at this person's head. It was a taster session. I don't know, something like 15 minutes. I was not allowed to move my hands. I had to stay there for the whole period.
You mean you couldn't move them?
I couldn't move. I couldn't move me or my hands. I just couldn't. They were either side of this person's head. There, there he is, and I could not move. I mean, if I'd really pushed, I could have done, but I just knew I was not allowed to move. But that individual, I can't remember the condition they had, but they said, "Oh, that was amazing. That was absolutely fantastic. My head it's the clearest my head has felt." And so, but I wasn't giving it. I was offering it. I was letting them take it where they required it most. It's just that my hands had to stay at that point as well. I've also had situations as I've gone down, and this was very much in the early days, when I've gone down the chakras, and I felt as if somebody's right there next to me, and they've actually gone with their hips. It's like, oi, out the way, we want to be here. Because I always invite in their guides and guardians, as well as my own. But their guides and guardians, they have that connection. They know what's required, where it's required. And sometimes I've felt myself being asked to step back and just hold the energy. It's everybody's experience with Reiki is going to be different. There may be similarities. Some people receiving it feel heavy or feel light, see colors, sort of have memories, whatever it is. I don't believe we can tell people what a Reiki session is going to be like. And even as the offerer, because I'm not going to use the word giver, even as the offerer, we shouldn't be trying to, what am I getting? What have I got to do? It's just be there, be in the moment, hold the energy, let the individual do what is right for them. I've had times where I've had the tears streaming down my cheeks. And there was one particular session, the tears were phenomenal.
As a practitioner?
Oh, as a practitioner. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, rather than a receiver. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The tears were streaming down my cheeks. And I've had tears on numerous occasions. And I was going then down the chakras, and it was sort of like the sacral plexus and the base chakra. And I always know when I'm feeling any energy there, it's about a child. It's about a child, the child within. I don't know which. It's just child. But as much as I say I don't hear anything, but the word that was in my head was dead. And that can be very scary, because I'm very open with people. If I receive anything, if I get a sense of anything, I share it. And I said to this lady at the end of the session when she sat up, I said, I got so many tears. She said, yes, my 20-year-old son dropped dead 2 years ago. So I didn't actually have to tell the rest of what I
Yeah.
got.
She knew.
She knew. And it confirmed the sense I got too. Being a practitioner, being a teacher, being a teacher, I say to all my students, please, even if you don't do it at any other time of the day, open the channel for yourself every night as you go to sleep. Keep using that energy for yourself. If not for anybody else, please use it for yourself. I Reiki my food every day. I literally open the channel every day. So and the more we use it, the stronger it becomes through us. And it's an amazing energy. It really is. But trust, offer for the individual to accept or reject as they choose. And let them take it to where they require it. It's not for us to be in control of what is necessary for that individual.
I know there are different forms of Reiki out there now. Is this Usui Reiki that you were attuned in?
Yeah, Mikao Usui, Dr. Mikao Usui.
Yeah. And you now call the toning you do vocal Reiki. So in what way is it similar to Reiki?
Okay. I started working with the toning, and somebody at a group for something else that I was part of, they said, "Oh, come on, I want to hear some of this toning that you do." And the person who was facilitating it, a lady called Willow, she said, "Well, you know that Sarah's channeling that." And it was because, of course I am. I channel the toning. The tones that come through me are, for want of a better word, guided. They're not me. And with the comments I've had from people, they absolutely aren't me. It's just what I'm channeling from whoever, wherever. I always ask to work with the highest energies that choose to work with me. That's really important. And being aware that I channel it, and it was just like, okay, I can call it sound energy, I can call it toning, but toning's sort of fairly bland and doesn't really say what it is to a certain degree. And I remember actually walking down to the shops. I do a lot of stuff comes to me when I'm walking. I was thinking, well, what can I call it then? And it was just like, I channel the sound, the toning. I channel Reiki. And as I said, Reiki first love. And I thought, okay, I'm channeling them both. So vocal Reiki. That is why vocal Reiki, because obviously with Reiki, you're literally just holding the energies, you're allowing that energy to channel through you. But with the sound, but it's coming from the voice. So it's vocal Reiki.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And
That's why vocal Reiki.
I understand. Do you do it with individuals or groups or both?
Both. Absolutely. Very much started, I didn't know what to call it to start with. And I learned a technique called quantum touch. And the lady that taught, both Elaine and myself, because Elaine works with the toning sort of a lot as well, or has done in the past. And the lady that taught us quantum touch knew about this. And she said, and you can use the toning with it. Brilliant. So I actually went around calling everything quantum touch and using the toning with it, because with that I was able to. A gentle, quiet Reiki session, it was not necessarily appropriate to bring the sound in and have people jumping out their skin. That was at the very, very beginning. But what I was finding when I was toning to people was migraines that were starting disappeared. Really strong headaches that were starting would disappear. Tension in neck and shoulders would relax. I actually had one particular occasion where It was a taster in an event, and the gentleman had been involved in a road accident earlier that week. His whole body had been jarred, and basically he'd been told, nothing we can do, get on with it. And I said, okay. And I said, what have you got to lose? I said, you've got a £5 to lose, because it's all that we were charging for the tasters back then. And it was just like, and he said, well, okay then. At that stage, because of the quantum touch, my hand, seriously, it was gentle. It was hardly touching at all, but my hands were on his back.
Mm.
Nothing. I couldn't have manipulated his back with my hands. There was no pressure. And while I was toning, I felt it, everything. Suddenly, his whole body moved.
Mm.
Finished the taster, and he came back later and he said, I feel better than I did before the accident.
Oh, great.
Everything had gone back into place. So yes, I very much started on a muscular skeletal level, because it was within the week with him, his muscles and his tendons and his ligaments hadn't had time to get used to the new positioning. So everything was able to slot back into place beautifully easily. I didn't do that. His body said, oh, thank you. Yes. And that's what it did.
Mm.
I then found that it was working at a much deeper level, going into the systems of the body and the organs of the body. And there was an occasion, again, it was a taster on a school training day for the teachers. And this lady sort of came in and she was having a taster and she said, I can't remember what condition she said, but she said, I've eaten something and it's going to be stuck in my system for 2-3 days. And so I just offered the sound to around that energy, and she felt it move. I am going to say the power of this technique is phenomenal. It really is. One particular lady had a taster with me and she'd had an awful lot of water retention. And after the taster she had, she went home that night and she says she lost something like 7 pounds overnight because of the release of the water retention.
Amazing.
I have no idea about these things until I'm told about the outcome. You know, if people don't tell me, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But what is essential, and something I very much learned from the metamorphic technique, where it's very much you have to be totally detached from any sort of outcome, because it is not for you to tell that person's body what is right for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just offer the energy and it does what it does. It empowers within the individual what is totally right for them at that point in time. And that is really important to me. It's a very valuable lesson learned for me. I don't have to know. I like to know. The human of me likes.
Do you even have to know what ails the person, or can they come and not even tell you?
To be perfectly honest, yes. You know, but okay, as with everything, I have been taught, especially from insurance points of view, that I have to do a consultation form.
Yeah.
Doing the tasters, I just ask whether they're under the doctor, if there's anything I really need to know about, because obviously if they're epileptic or sort of diabetic or have seizures or whatever, it's important I know that, because if something happens, you know, I know what I've got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've got a sense of what I've got to do. And that's really, really important. But actually, do you know what? I love not knowing and just offering the energy, just going with the sense of what I feel I'm getting, and just said is very rare. Just offering that energy and letting that energy do what's for that individual. But the more I've worked with it, as I said, I went from the physical into the internal, and now it's gone even deeper. Now it's gone to a cellular memory level.
Mm-hmm.
And because of my own story, and this is where my story comes in, because of my story, the trauma that little girl went through that couldn't be resolved, not at a year old. And at 18 months old, I had a baby sister that died when she was 9 weeks old. It was just rejection after rejection. You know, but you can't explain any of that to a child. I wasn't abandoned. It was the hospital rules.
Yeah, of course.
And even speaking to my mother only yesterday, and for some reason we got talking about it. And I've always accepted the fact the hell she must have been going through. She'd put that coffee on the table. There'd been a tablecloth on there, which she never did for the very reason of what happened. I was curious. I pulled the cloth and down came.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just boiling water, it was boiling milk.
Mm. Yeah.
But no phone in the house. She didn't drive, and there wouldn't have been two cars back in 1959 anyway.
No.
Well, not unless she'd really got an awful lot of money. Gratefully, the doctor, she'd been training to be a nurse, so she ran me under the cold tap. The doctor was literally over the road. She ran over the road with me.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor had to call the ambulance. When she and I got to the hospital, so she came in the ambulance with me, they took me from her and told her to go home. They took her baby from her.
Mm-hmm.
And she said there was nothing I could do about it.
She must have been traumatized as well.
Absolutely. Traumatized by the system. Which is, so you got you end up with a traumatized baby, and you got a traumatized mother who was pregnant with a child that then died at 9 weeks old. And they were then, because it was classed as a cot death, they were then investigated. So what my parents went through in that period of time between sort of the March and the August, or October when Gillian died, in a 6-7 month window, what they went through, which isn't going to have helped the trauma of the child that was still left. So there was the trauma within me that had never been able to be dealt with because I wasn't of an age that anything could be explained.
Yes, of course.
And my parents weren't in a position to even be able to support with that, sadly, but it was all part and parcel. What I've discovered is I can help people to reconnect with that inner child. I never ask them to relive what happened, but to the child after it has happened, that child that is feeling, all they require is a hug and a cuddle. They require somebody to listen to them, to feel heard. And they're not. They don't get the hug and the cuddle. They don't feel listened to and heard at a time when they are so traumatized. And I can help people to get back to that inner child. There is a beautiful quote, and I never get it perfect, but there is a beautiful quote by Alice Little. As a traumatized child, you are desperately waiting for the adult that would come and save you. What you don't understand is that it will be yourself as an adult. And sort of seriously, reading that was sort of just it was just like, this is exactly what I'm helping people to do. The adult to connect with the child, to be the one that gives them that hug and that cuddle, to listen to them, and to just be there for them. And as the child feels listened to and heard, the child becomes more confident, more comfortable, more able to be a child.
Yeah.
And that confidence builds into the adult. Seriously, I was a people pleaser for far too many years with absolutely no confidence, so scared of what other people thought about me, would think about me. And now I have no problems with standing up in the middle of the room and sharing this. And I can share the toning. So I'm very happy to do a demonstration.
I was going to ask, is it something you could demonstrate for our viewers and listeners?
Absolutely. And so it's gone so dark outside here. We've got it raining. We've had thunder this morning. So I am just going to turn a little light on, which will hopefully make it a little bit better. Not a lot, but a little bit. Okay. With the sound, with the toning, I always suggest that people sort of relax, make yourself comfortable, feet on the floor. Sorry, I work eyes closed. I always have done, sort of with the energy techniques.
Yeah.
And I invite your roots down. Now, for some, they are in the base of your feet. Other people say the base of your spine. Invite them down into Mother Earth, deep into Mother Earth, anchoring into Mother Earth. Mother Earth is sending up her love and her protection through your roots, into your feet, up into your whole body, totally surrounding and protecting you. This is not about what you hear, it is about what you feel. How did that feel?
Wonderful. Very ethereal sounds. Yeah.
I've found that I literally, because I'm channeling this, the notes can be really high and way higher than I've done here, and really low. And with really high notes at times, I've had to say to them, excuse me, they are my vocal cords. And they have a sense of humor and they do listen.
Yes.
So it is what it is. The breath at the end, okay, the energies I find that I'm working with are Gaia, Mother Earth. Thus, that, you know, and that's not just about the roots down into Mother Earth. I'm working with her with the sound as well. Mother Mary. I'm also working with the violet flame of transmutation and Archangel Uriel, the angel of peace and wisdom. What I have found is that actually when I'm working with people with the inner child, and that's why Mother Mary and Mother Earth make so much sense to me, is that I work with people's name. I tone their name. But the question I ask, And there is a story that goes with why. The question I ask is the name your mother called you as a child. There can be resistance to that because of people who don't like their name, people who've changed their name. And very briefly, the story of knowing why I asked that question is because I changed my name.
Oh.
I was Jane as a baby. It was Jane that went through all those traumas. And when I went to my second school, so we'd moved town, moved school, nobody knew me other than obviously family. And I went to that new school and I told everyone I was called Sarah. Because I was christened Sara Jane, no hyphen, but I was always known by my middle name until I changed it. And the understanding came to me one day as I was walking on some local heathland and I was talking to Jane. The only person who had ever really rejected me had been me when I changed my name. And name is so powerful. And just as a little sort of thing that people could do for themselves, if they don't want to actually go into the toning, and some people say, well, yes, it's singing. Toning. Sorry, it's toning. I know even when you're doing it with the name, it is still toning. Speak your name. Just speak your name over and over. You're not asking anything of yourself. You're not telling yourself off. You're not, there's no anger. It's just, I am honoring who I am. I am just acknowledging who I am. I do it for myself every day. And I do a mix of Sara Jane and Jane Sara. I really do. I also had a nickname as a child, and I do that as well. And somebody has also told me what my spiritual name is. So I do the four of them. I am literally about the whole of me, every aspect. But just as a sense of how the toning of name can feel, I know it's not going to be for everybody that obviously watches this, but would you like me to do your name?
That would be wonderful.
So, is Dennis what you were called as a child?
Well, Dennis is on my birth certificate, but my mother called me Denny.
Denny. Okay. And are you all right with me calling you that?
It'll be interesting because I haven't heard it for a long time, but I'm willing to give it a go.
Okay, let's go with Denny. Right, so your roots are already down. I suggest you sort of just relax. You can close your eyes if you like. Again, this is about what you feel and not about what you hear. Danny, 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 How did that feel?
Well, to begin with, it was very beautiful, the sound, and I did feel some balancing up of my left and right side. My left side was bright and my right side was dark, and towards the end I felt some balancing and some healing about my relationship with my mother.
Excellent. Oh, I've had a number of people that sort of said that sounded like my mum, and it was like, your mum passed, and it was just like, yes, it said, in which case it absolutely was your mother. And so it's, as I said before, what energies I'm working with, I have no idea. It's totally right that it is our mother, a father, a sibling, or whatever. It is what it is, and it's what it's meant to be for you. And so if people are confident enough to, you break the name down into syllables. So it was Den-E, and it would be Den-is if it was Dennis. As you know, with Sarah, it is Sarah, but with Jane, it is Jane. Sort of. So if you've got 3 or 4 syllables, you break it down. So if you're comfortable with trying it for yourself, I tend to do it when there's nobody around to listen, but I do it every day. But then it's the name that I use when I'm helping people to reconnect with their inner child. And I've learned a lot in the years that I've been working with people with this, supporting people, and watching somebody come into the room, and when they sit up, the energies, you can just see something different about them. And it's amazing. I love what it helps people to do for themselves, because that is what it is. It's what people are doing for themselves. People are prepared to be involved in their own healing journey.
Yeah. Now, you say you channel these energies from maybe another dimension, another realm. I'm just wondering if you have a kind of worked out spirituality. Where is it we're all heading?
Home. Home, back to source, whatever you really consider that to be. Do you believe in reincarnation? I don't know whether I would call it reincarnation, but do we have multiple lifetimes? Absolutely. But you may be a new soul. You may be somebody that is literally coming here for the first time. But what I am going to say here might freak some people out, and other people say, yes, of course. I've probably had lifetimes on this planet for 2,000 years. No, not probably. I have had lifetimes on this planet for just over 2,000 years.
Yeah.
I know one of the lifetimes I've had, and that was 2,000, just over 2,000 years ago. But my soul's initial lifetimes weren't here on Earth. I don't know whether I can go back further, but I can certainly go back prior to Earth lifetimes to lifetimes on the Pleiades. So when people say, oh, do aliens come to Earth? Yeah, but they come to Earth as human beings. Absolutely. Our souls haven't just, the majority of us, I don't think, certainly those of us that are doing the work we're doing, the energies we are bringing, so many of us, not just the Pleiades, but many other star systems, not even within our own galaxy. Our souls have had many experiences. It's probably why we're made to forget when we come down here. We're not meant to know about those experiences. But I don't know about the experiences. I just know. And I suppose it's a sense of knowing, because I Oh, for years, absolutely years. I love looking out at the stars at night. And at this time of the year, Orion is still visible. And the Pleiades are at the foot of Orion's sword. Why have I always been drawn to Orion?
Mm.
And then to discover that one of my guardian angels is connected with the moon. And I've always loved looking out at the moon at night.
Mm-hmm.
And it made sense when I became aware of who one of my guardian angels is, because there's a connection with that particular angel and the moon. And it's opening up what makes sense. I mentioned the breath before when I finished the toning, the sound, and that breath is a dragon breath, and it's a breath that I get the sense is about any negative energies that were ready to be released from the individual I'm working with or individuals. That breath cleanses those negative energies, so that negativity isn't going out into the universe. And so I work with dragons, but I also channel dragons. I channel many mythical beings.
Well, we have a dragon here in Wales, the Welsh dragons.
Absolutely. But there are many dragons. There are dragons at Dartmoor. I've worked with those, helping free those. They were trapped. And then there was a dragon somewhere in Australia that was trapped and was supporting the energies. It was supporting the freeing of that dragon. And amazing energies from many not many, all of the mythical beings. Because one of the things they said to me when I first connected with them was, please do not share our myths and legends. So many of them have been distorted to create fear.
Yes.
And the werewolf is one of the ones that I have definitely worked with. And the werewolf, when I connected with the werewolf, it was, yes, they are a guardian of the night, but we can call on them if we're afraid. But they're going to be there. They support us. They know there's nothing to fear. But what they also said to me is, we have given you all your own guardian wolf. You are one with your wolf. When you understand the meaning of where, it's the Old English word for man, wolf. We are connected with our wolf. It's man, wolf, wolf, man. Doesn't matter. We're connected with our wolves as we are connected with all other beings. And yes, I've definitely got wolves because I was a trainee handler at the UK Wolf Conservation Trust, and I know I have those wolves with me, the ones I've physically worked with. And so it's trusting. You were talking about spirituality, and it's very much a matter of trusting the energies that are around you. So it's trusting the things that you get. It's trusting yourself. If it feels amazing, it's coming from your heart, which is connected to your soul, which is connected to the all that is. If you're feeling uncomfortable with that energy, there's a really good chance that it's more likely coming from your ego mind. That aspect of yourself. Oh no, I've got to keep you safe. Well, actually, do you know what? If you're creating negative feelings around this, if I'm feeling negative about this is not something for me to get involved in. So what are you feeling? They say, trust your gut instinct. If something feels right, it is. If it feels wrong, it's not. Trust. The sun's come out. It's got all dark again. But lovely to see you, son. Great. Thank you. So it's about trusting yourself, trusting the inner guidance, because our heart and our soul, they won't misguide us. They really won't. Trust it. This thing up here can be that the ego mind, the monkey mind, can be so destructive of our lives. That was what caused all those negative feelings. But, oh, what are people thinking about me? Because of what I've been through. I've grown beyond that. We can all grow.
Yes, you talked about the traumas you've been through as a gift. Is everything a gift, do you think?
I think if we open to it, absolutely. We may not be able to see what that gift is, and we may never know what that gift is. But it's, what's the saying? How does the saying go? Where your energy energy goes, the energy flows. So if you're constantly in that negative frame of mind, guess what's going to flow to you? Negativity. Whereas if you can look at something, and even if you don't understand it, you say, okay, what's this showing me? What's this teaching me? What can I learn from this? If you don't want to go for teaching and learning, what can I take from this? And I look at being in a hurry in a car, and I've asked for I always ask for safe journey and as swift as possible. The order is really important of the angels' journeys. But then the traffic lights go red and I'm in a hurry. But I don't look at that as being, you're stopping me. It's, okay, is there somebody who requires it more than I do? Are they actually clearing the road in front of me? Are they actually keeping me safe? How you view it, if you're going to go in mode, that's all you're going to get. But whereas if it's like, okay, fine, there's a reason for this, I don't have to know what the reason is.
Could be a time to stop and take a breath.
It's anything. When I'm in a hurry, and I try to be good about letting people out in front of me, but when I'm in a hurry, I definitely try and let people out in front of me, which sounds counterintuitive. But how many times does that person you've let out disappear? They've turned off. Where have they gone? It's being considerate of others. And the number of times I've got to where I require to go in time, and I shouldn't have done, but because I've accepted the fact that there are always reasons for things, even if I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I channel is light language. Some call it the language of light. For me, I see it as being the language of our soul.
Yeah.
It isn't something that the mind understands. But if you would like me to share a message for everybody that is listening,
yes, please do. Yes.
Please don't ask me to translate. I have no idea. And as I say with the sound, this isn't about what you hear, it is about what you feel. It is about what you feel from this. So let's see what's wished to be shared. Kint tnoi ka esh tneamate, fil tramakinchi e. No eche la katana kachia manai, no e te ni ka. Shirun to monta ka eshti ni tiki, nantarana ke amato, ner in nai akche nai, thero toina shi nikitia maya, ler ai nai ki, tin toran kai chea tamea nakte, siratoi ke ish I nai, si untrana katana ke itia manai kote, nat toi icha, pen tere keshi, noita e, manaka che niata, neranai ki chianatai. Namaste.
Thank you very much.
Did you get it? Not a sense of meaning, but did you feel anything from that?
I was watching the caption generator struggle to spell everything you're saying. So I will listen to it again I'll listen to the recording and give it more attention.
Which is why I always work eyes closed, and there's
Yes.
nothing that can actually, and I love that. And I hope everybody's laughing listening to this, because laughter is a sound that is missing so much from our lives. So I hope that this has actually caused some laughter as well. I really do. So yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dennis.
Well, thank you. This has been delightful. I know there's a lot more to you than we've been able to explore here. I know you've got a best-selling book out. You've got your own TV channel. Where can people find out more about you?
Okay. 3 websites. Bless me. In respect to vocal Reiki, vocalreiki.com. In the respect of the TV channel, that is giftofhealingtv.com. And in respect of the dragons and the mythical beings, because I share a message every month from them, all those messages are up there. There's some videos to connect with the guardian dragon, sort of all sorts on that website. It's all free. All that stuff is free. And that is ourmagicalfriends.com. So please feel free to explore those websites. As I said, there's a whole load of stuff. Yes, there's some paid stuff on there. Of course there is, but not on the Gift of Healing TV one, there isn't. But the rest there is. And you can connect with all the guests on the Gift of Healing TV under their actual videos on YouTube at their websites, because it's about, and I know you you as well. So I think it's really important that it's about, for me, it's all about sharing.
Yeah.
It's about helping people to know what is out there, so that they can connect with the things that feel right for them.
I'll certainly be looking up the dragons. I wasn't aware of that side of you, but I am now. And yeah, something I'll explore further.
Yeah, but it's the dragons that guard over the earth's crystals. So there's a connection with crystals and dragons.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And blessings on your work. And let's keep in touch.
Absolutely. Dennis, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. And I'm sure we will be in touch soon. Namaste, sweet sound.